Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty, and today we're going to take a look at Patra. This is a Dark Horse Comics slasher horror thing, and it does have some issues when dealing with horror, specifically suburban horror, which we're talking about before we get into the comic book. So because it kind of sets what's going on and expectations. This isn't just me waffling on about horror, because I love waffling on about horror, maybe a little bit of that, but mostly it is relevant to what we're talking about, because a whole bunch of horror movies from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s all have, well, not all have, but a lot fall into two kind of categories of fear. They are the idea that somebody can invade your home or your neighborhood, or that when you leave your home or neighborhood, you'll be in danger from people from outside it. These all kind of work because an awful lot of horror movies from these time periods, and even today, are written by, directed by, produced by, put out by companies owned by at least middle-class, predominantly white people. And this idea of you should be safe in your nice middle-class white suburban neighborhood is fairly ingrained, and there's an awful lot of things you can talk about that would make it not safe. There's ideas of white flight and such things like that. But also, if you move out of it, you're moving beyond the safety, and when you end up in places where people you don't know, people you don't expect to see there. I mean, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil does like a really good job on this kind of thing, but it is, again, that fear of moving away from perceived safety. This is completely set within a very white picket fence suburban America. It does a very good job of portraying it. But it also deals with a crazy person being the main villain. And that is another part of horror, which has been a big part of it for a very long time. And as more time has passed, a lot more people are realizing how problematic that is, because it's well documented that people with mental health issues are far more likely to be victims of violent crime than perpetrators of it. And I think how long this kind of trope has been going might have done, well, not might have, has certainly done some damage to how people look at and perceive and interact with people with mental health issues. However, in the same way that you can look at the big fears of the people creating the movies and the stories and the books and the TV shows and realise what they're doing is not necessarily saying they are scared of a serial killer coming in, they're scared of anything threatening that fragility, you can kind of look and see why they will be using people with mental health issues. I mean, you could kind of easily say that maybe it's because people are scared of their own lack of mental health. I mean, I can say right now, there's only two things in this world I'm genuinely scared of. Heights, and when I say heights, I mean if I have to stand on a chair to change a light bulb, I get uncomfortable. And the idea of losing my mental faculties as I grow old. Those are pretty much it. But I don't think that quite covers it. It comes down more to the idea of it's something beyond our control, something we don't understand, because we genuinely don't. Like, you can talk to psychologists and people who deal with neuro issues for their careers, and they still don't understand an awful lot about how the human brain works. If you can't understand it, you can't control it, and that fear of the uncontrollable, the unknowable, is how it plays in. It is still bad, but most contemporary horror stories actually kind of add more to this just basic idea and can turn it on its head and subvert it a little bit. And I will say this one does a pretty good job of this, but I've been talking about that for 3 minutes now, so now let's get into the actual comic book. It starts brilliantly. The artwork is beautiful. It's not like crisp, clean line kind of stuff. It's kind of scratchy stuff that I really like, really heavy inking for shading, which looks brilliant. We get some fantastic shots of suburban America, very much a white picket fence house with two sheriff cruisers turning up to try and figure out what's going on. And due to some really, really tight scripting and really, really good artwork, we have a genuine sense of tension building, even though we're fairly sure we know what's going to happen here, because this is a comic book about a serial killer in a suburban neighborhood. And when we get the reveal, it is exactly what we expect, and it looks brilliant. Throughout the comic book, we also follow the final girl and our killer, and we move away from more standard kind of art styles, even the very stylized stuff we have got in this one, to even more OTT stylized choices, and realise there is more going on. Like, there's no way we can rationally explain what's happening based on what we're seeing if we just think this is just a normal serial killer. Apologies. But that over-the-top coloration, the really rich depth to it, the strange occurrences which make no sense unless we accept as something supernatural, all add to this idea that we're moving away from just a very generic crazy guy kills people, and I really like that. I mean, hell, as we get some backstory, we also find out that the killer isn't just a person who is mentally disturbed or has mental health issues. They were subjected to a whole bunch of childhood trauma, like literally bunches of it. I'm not going to go into details because I haven't got the time to hold the content warnings up. And as such, it's more of a sociopathy than a psychopathy. And I don't have all the information about the difference between those things, but my very layman's understanding of it, I feel like they've done a better job than I thought they could have done. And when it gets to the end of the first issue, it again sets up subversion to the genre, and I really, really like that. If you like this kind of psycho slasher serial killer story, you are going to like this. Just be prepared for very non-standard artwork that's done brilliantly, and you'll have an absolutely fantastic time. That's it from me for now. Got more to do this week, so make sure you do the social media thing if you see this video. Do the like thing so you see more of them if you want to. Until I see you again, though, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!